my house today to go see a movie. I know that's very shocking, um, but I did. And this movie was Paul Dano's directorial debut, Wildlife. It is co-written with Zoe Kazan, and it's based on a novel by Richard Ford from 1990. And it is a coming-of-age story, mostly told from the perspective of a 14-year-old boy in Montana whose parents are unhappy and whose their marriage is in the midst of falling apart. They've just moved to Montana, moved to Great Falls, Montana. Um, the husband, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, works at a country club, and the mother, Carey Mulligan, used to be a teacher at one point, but is now a homemaker. When he is let go from his job from being too friendly, um, he refuses to take the job back when they realize they've made a mistake, and then instead goes off to fight forest fires in the mountains, completely um, pissing off his wife and leaving her in the lurch for supporting them, but also just, I think it's the tipping point in what's clearly a long-standing rift in their marriage, where she is tired of following his lead and she's just done. Um, the rest of the film follows what happens when he goes off to fight this fire and what the wife Jeanette, played by Carey Mulligan, does. Um, all of which is shown through the perspective of their teenage son. It's really, really, really beautifully made. It's very much about the actors, but they are in this beautiful setting. It's shot in Montana. This is the second movie in Montana in the last 3 years, and Montana looks surprisingly like the part of Northern California where I grew up, and that freaks me out a little bit. But also, it's yeah, the West. Whenever people think of the West, they think of the Southwest, and when I think of the West, I think of the Northwest, but not like the trees, Twin Peaks Northwest. I mean, the rural, hilly mountain Northwest. It's a very distinct look, and we actually had a lot of wildfires where I grew up. My parents would go in the summer. They were archaeologists, and they would go in the summer and do God knows what with the fires. And I felt like the tension that was built in this of uh, an impending fire coming that's far enough away to not really be a problem, but close enough that there is a hidden smoke in the air, and they were able to drive to it at one point in a very stunning moment where they show a slow reveal of what the wildfire looks like. And having grown up amongst that, I was like, this feels right. So kudos to that. Let's see, what else? Beautiful costume design. I can't remember who the costume designer was. It was a woman, but that late 50s, because this is 1960s, so it's that late 50s, not quite mod look that was the early 60s. Fantastic. Bright, vibrant colors and patterns and things. There's a lot being said about Carey Mulligan's performance. She is my favorite actress. She has been my favorite actress for about the last 10 years. I have seen all but one of her movies, and that one was made a few years before An Education, so it was one where she was very supporting. But I have seen everything she's been in, almost all of them in theaters, because I will see everything she's in theaters. I love her so much. She's such a good actress, and she brings a strength to her characters, even the ones who are a mess. She brings an internal strength to her characters that is astounding, and not even strength. I don't even know if strength's the right word. It's more like just emotional depth. There's just a lot under the surface in all of her roles, and she also does. She manages to play these characters that are, in a lesser hand, I think could be off-putting, but you always feel empathy for these characters, and you always understand exactly where they're coming from, and you want them to succeed, even when you're seeing them do really stupid things. So I kudos to Mulligan for always choosing these complex, amazing women to play and to bring to life, and to doing it so well. I'm always blown away by her performances, and she always manages to top herself. You think she's done the best, and then she does something else, and you're like, oh no, she had more waiting for her. And unfortunately, somehow, she got this big Oscar nomination for An Education, and then has had one of the great filmographies in the last 10 years, and that's still her only Oscar nomination, and it was an ingenue nomination. And it's like, stop with the ingenue nominations and then not nominating, or I'm not going to say who, but you know who I mean, giving an ingenue nomination and then literally nominating them for everything, even though half of it is bad. Um, you know who I mean. Um, so I really loved this. And also, a layer to it that I really enjoyed was the background music. There is a use of music to set Jeanette's tone that I thought was really incisive. You have to listen to the lyrics to see what while it's playing, what it means for her. And I think it's very purposeful, the choice of music that plays. So really well done. And then lastly, I got to talk about Jake Gyllenhaal. Obviously, Gyllenhaal's great. He is only really at the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie in these sort of bookmarks. And he's a man sort of that post-war lost in the fringes, could have been a noir character in another film. Thankfully, a little still I think through his love of his son, moored to the good side of things rather than the bad side of things, but could easily have fallen down a rabbit hole of alcoholism and crime in another life. So he brings some more just complexities to that. And then you've got the boy playing the son, who was I think a relatively new actor, Ed Oxenbould. And he's got very expressive eyes, and the bulk of the film is him reacting to the things around him, and him seeing this chaos from what was supposed to be a comfortable place. It's his family, and seeing this chaos erupt around him, and being unable to do anything, let alone process what's happening with these complex emotions, because he's not there yet. He's still a kid, and many times Mulligan's character will point that out, and yet they're still treating him as if he is an adult, at the same time realizing he's not, and he's in a really just tough place, which for a lot of kids with families that are falling apart or dysfunctional, they have to grow up super fast in order to just deal with it. And unfortunately, this is a portrait of that. I'm interested to read the book, see if it's from the kid's point of view as well or what. But I really liked this. It's beautifully shot, beautifully made, terrifyingly sad, totally realistic parent fighting. You'll want to hide in your closet. I know I used to hide in my closet. So this is Paul Dano's Wildlife, and it's in theaters now. I think it was in limited last week, and it's more and more, it's like platforming out, so hopefully it'll be in a theater near you soon, but 100% check it out. It is good. It'll be one of the great films of the year. Certainly should be getting Oscar talk for Carey Mulligan again, finally. I really hope so, because she is just stunning, and she's always stunning, and she deserves all of the Oscar nominations. This is Wildlife.